Hey everybody, welcome. I'm going to pour a resin charcuterie board today. First, we have to make sure we've got our supports so that we're not pouring our resin onto our surface because our charcuterie board will stick to the surface. Then we level it. The most important tip, it has to be level or your resin will slip off. Now we're just mixing our resin and our hardener together. I usually typically do hardener first and then resin. I'm using art resin today. So I poured the resin first and hardener, probably just because I was filming and a little distracted. Now you're going to mix your resin and hardener really, really well, scraping the sides, making sure it's fully incorporated. You're going to do that for 2 minutes, and this is very important or your resin won't cure. And now I just got some resin on the board, so I just got some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel, just cleaned up the board. We are gonna go with our, oh yeah, one of my supports was sticking out, so we tucked it back in. And now I think we're gonna go in with the white. That's usually my base color. And I mean, but you could use another base color, but I like that because then the colors on top show up better. Um, and I'm just mixing. You're gonna do a 10-to-1 ratio, 10 being resin, 1% being the color. You gotta be careful, you can't add too much color because then your resin won't dry. You'll change the chemical reaction. Now I'm gonna mix in some glitter. I typically get my glitter from Michael's. And now I think I'm gonna go in with my teal. I buy my paints from Michael's. I also have a local art store where I buy paints out of as well. Um, and I also I do use powder pigment, but this time we didn't. We are now pouring the white all over the area that we want to create our artwork on. And so because resin is self-leveling, it does a pretty good job. And now we're just gonna go back in with our stir stick to fill in the areas that did not get covered. So that's great. The resin will drip off the sides, and then I typically kind of go in after I'm done and just make sure that my sides are covered. I'm now going to go in with the teal, and so we're just going to kind of go with the flow here, the kind of mimicking the white edge. And this is really where, you know, your artistic self comes out, and you kind of take a look and see what you like, where you want more color. So you kind of go in. Now I'm going in with the beads from Michael's. These beads are plastic. I don't like to use glass beads, although I've seen it done, only because if people are going to use their charcuterie board, the wood side for your traditional charcuterie, you just don't want to mix glass with food. However, the people do actually hang their charcuterie board. They don't necessarily use it. If it's purely decorative, then I think that's okay. See me going in quite often with a heat gun just to get some movement of the resin and the pigment, and you get some nice lacing and some nice effects with that. I am quite close. You have to be careful because you can scorch your resin. I just wouldn't advise getting as close as I am. However, we're getting some nice movement, and now I'm just moving the beads over. I didn't love the placement of the beads. So here we go. So now I'm going to go in with some more color. This is where your creativity comes out. I'm putting some lines in with the teal, just to add some more interest. Again, this is just purely by eye. It's just what feels right to me. And, you know, there's really not a thing that, you know, when you put color down, you don't like it, you can add more color. You can even scrape off the resin. You can scrape off the beads while it's still wet, and you can start again if you're not liking where it's going. So here I am kind of like putting some more lines in, and you'll see how nicely the lines show up once you get a heat gun on them, because they kind of expand and they move in with the white. It's quite beautiful, the effect of the lines when you're doing the resin. And this is just my technique. Everyone has their own, feel about how they want their charcuterie board to turn out. Now I'm going in again with the heat gun, and you can see some of the movement. Again, I'm a little too close. I'm moving my heat gun, though. It's never in one spot for too long. So just be aware of that. Well, here we go. That's great. Now I'm going to go in with some clear resin on top because I want some of that white lacing. And then I do a line of white on top of the clear resin. Now I'm just hitting it with the heat gun again, just to get some nice effect and get some movement of the teal and get some movement of the white paint on the clear. Again, I'm getting a little close there, but keeping the gun always moving. Now I'm just going to pick up some resin that's fallen over just to clean up some areas that I don't love. So this is just basically where your artistic eye goes crazy and you do whatever you like. Then I'm going to go in with some clear resin just to secure the beads and embellishments. Now we're going to go and put our glittered edge on. That's just something that I like to do. Many of my boards have a glitter edge. So just laying it all on there. And then looking to see where else I'd like some glitter. I usually do put it on the beads as well. I try to avoid hitting the glittered edge with the heat gun because it just spreads the glitter all over the place, and I like the edge being more defined and the glitter being in one spot. Wanting to add more teal now, some more teal lines. I think I'm liking where this is going. So now we're going to have to let this sit for at least 12 hours to dry.